Micro Robots is a small portable reimagining of a game that came out a couple of years ago, and it's called Ricochet Robots. It's a puzzle game, Ricochet Robots, in which all players are looking at the board at the same time and they're trying to solve a problem. So the advantage is that you can have any number of players playing it. And instead of Micro Robots is the reimagining, and it's a portable game because it's not the portable version, it's not the travel version. It is just a very different game. Although some of the concepts are the same, the execution, gameplay feels very different. And in case you do not know Ricochet Robot, I'll just tell you a couple of things real quick, so then you can mentally compare, and if you already know it, well, that's a nice review for you. In Ricochet Robot, you have a large board, much larger than this one, that has some obstacles drawn on them. Then there's a robot that is placed in an area of the board. Another area is determined randomly, and at that point all players stare at the board at the same time and they try to figure out which is the fastest way for the robot to reach the designated location by moving in a straight line and pretty much bouncing by 90 degrees on the obstacles that the robot encounters, or I should say bounces against, ricochets against. And once a player has found it, the player announces the number of moves that he or she thinks are necessary. Pretty much, I can do it in 9 moves. When a player commits to do that, the players still have, like, I believe, a minute to or less than that to try to come up with a lower number. Maybe come up, wait a second, I can do it with 7. So either the player that came up with a solution first, or if somebody responded, the player that came up with the lowest number, they get to execute the movements, and if that is correct, their announcement was correct, either it was the player or the one with the lowest, they are able, in fact, to move the robot to the destination. In the announced number of moves, they score a point. Well, I guess in this review I already told you about that one, so it's like 2 games in a review. Micro Robots, the basic idea here that you find in common is that you look at the board and everybody's trying to create a path for the robot to get where the robot needs to go. Now you have these 4 tiles here to form the board, and they're double-sided. You see one is brownish and the other one is black. I don't know that in the video you can see a difference very well. But gray, if you look at the connection, is more evident than from the background. You can choose either one as long as you don't mix and match black and brown. You only choose one, but you can place them in different directions. You can change the orientation, so you have a lot of freedom there. Then Mr. Roboto here is placed on a random square, and then these dice are rolled, indicating the destination of the robot. Suppose, for example, that we rolled 2 and yellow, then all players are trying to figure out ways to move this guy to that space. The trick is the robot moves in a straight line and can only move in areas that are the same color or the same number of the starting space. So basically I need to move that robot from here to here, only stopping at 4 spaces numbered with a 4, or red spaces. And that wouldn't be all that hard because I can, of course, also destination space. So I can do 1, 2. That was pretty easy. Suppose that it was 2 green there. Then I could go here, 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 because it's red, and here. Once I get there, I score a point, then we roll the dice, and we see the next destination. This time is for pink, and I need to reach it only using green and 2, which is pretty simple. First player that sees the path announces that and gets to do it. So it's not like in Ricochet Robot where the players can steal your thunder at the end. Now I need to reach 6 red using only 4 and pink. This is a little more interesting. At least it doesn't immediately Doesn't seem obvious immediately. Oh, I can do this. 6. Pink. 4. What are we trying to reach? Oh, yes, 6 red. There you go. As simple as that. Now, this robot is transparent so that people can see through, because remember, the space where the robot is gives you the information about the type of squares that you can use. So it's transparent so you can see, but it's still pretty annoying. So actually there's also another transparent disk which can be used optionally to mark the arrival space. But you can use that instead, because frankly the space of arrival is indicated on the dice. It's more important to have the reminder about the starting space. Now, this is the game. Well, you define a number of points that you want to play to, and the first player that reaches that number of points is the winner. I like the fact that it's portable. I think it looks really nice and cute. The graphics are sharp. I like the fact that any number of players can play it, although physically, if you're like 30 players, cannot all look at the board at the same time. Unfortunately, that's almost all that I like. And I have to say, maybe I don't like it all that much because I mentally compare with a game that I like very much. Maybe I'm being unfair. I know every game should just be judged on its own merits. So again, take this with a grain of salt. I may be biased, but the merits of this game to me are not all that great. If nothing else, because as you have seen, there are cases in which it really is not about finding a path, but looking and seeing where the space that you're looking for is. Because if I'm there and I roll that one, well, what kind of like puzzle is that? And every time that you're playing, there are at least 4 chances that in fact you'll be adjacent, will be so close that really there's no problem, there is no puzzle there. So at least several of the rounds, if not many of the rounds, it'll be like, okay, 6 green is there, I win, I can do it. Okay, I can do that. Oh, okay, I can go there. If you do not see it immediately, if it's not 100% obvious, then you have that little bit of a puzzle, which can be interesting. But again, that's not always the case. Sometimes there is no puzzle at all. It's simply about seeing where it is. And there are games of that kind, like Ghost Blades, where simply it's about seeing a pattern before other people do. Those are okay for kids. To me, those are not nearly as interesting. Maybe a better variant could be if players take turns choosing secretly. So this turn I don't play, I cannot solve it. I'm simply gonna choose a number and then I show it to you, and you have to figure out how to get there. The next player does the same, and that would be it. Okay, in that case, we could trust the player that is not playing the turn to look for an interesting one, although the player would have no incentive to do so. We can find other ways. Maybe if I do place a combination of dice there and the other players take more than 10 seconds to find the solution, then I score a point. I think there needs to be an adjustment somewhere there to avoid absolutely brainless results, because those really dilute the game, and they're just annoying. When I play Ricochet Robots, again, there you go, the comparison, which maybe is unfair, maybe not, but when I play Ricochet Robot, that games give my brain a good workout. At the end, my brain is all like sweaty and in pain, just like when you were at the gym too long, and yet somehow, just like at the gym, you're happy. There's a certain pleasure in that. So, gives you a good brain burn, which this one doesn't. I expected to have a simpler puzzle with micro robots, a simpler puzzle, a more linear, straightforward puzzle. Unfortunately, I have a game that in most cases is not a puzzle, it's just boom, visual recognition, and sometimes give me a puzzle which is a little too easy, a little too simple. It's not a bad filler, I guess, not just one for me, frankly, precisely for the reasons that I just explained. That it can be much too easy. To play with kids, actually, yes, to play with kids, this could be a good idea, because then just recognizing where location is can be fun and exciting enough for them. As a filler for adults, as a puzzle game, this is not a game that I would recommend, simply because the puzzle element is too simple, too obvious to really feel like a puzzle at all. It looks good, it looks great, but other than that, too light, too random, and not challenging enough for me.